On this Sunday night, a new federal housing agency promises to break ground this fall. The Prime Minister unveils a new plan to tackle Canada's housing crisis.
A new federal entity that will supercharge housing construction.
As the political pushback begins. In Ontario, grief turns into demands for change. The calls for tougher safety rules after a child is killed in a daycare crash. Plus, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visits Israel as airstrikes in Gaza intensify. And running for a reason, thousands lace up for the Terry Fox Run, continuing the Canadian icon's legacy in the fight against cancer.
Global National, reporting tonight. Nitu Garcha.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Parliament is set to resume tomorrow, setting up the first showdown in the House of Commons between Prime Minister Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. Both leaders are hinting at more cooperation across the aisle, but there are some pressing issues. The fall session will build toward the Carney government's first budget, and tonight the Prime Minister has confirmed it will come with a substantial deficit.
Substantial means that it'll be bigger than it was last year, and let's look at why that's the case. I mean, the actual level will come out with the budget.
The budget will include new programs being rolled out by the government to deal with economic uncertainty. Today, the Prime Minister announced the creation of a new federal housing agency. The $13 billion investment fulfills a Liberal campaign promise. Our chief political correspondent, David Akin, reports on the government's plans to build 4,000 affordable homes.
Honey, I'm home.
In this Ottawa suburb, Prime Minister Mark Carney gets a first-hand look at what he thinks is promising new technology to rapidly build low-cost houses, factory-built modular homes.
It is great to see what you can build and how fast you can build.
There you go. Beautiful.
Carney first touted modular home techniques during the election campaign, where he made this campaign promise.
Our goal is to double the pace of housing construction.
On Sunday, Carney unveiled a new federal agency charged with doing just that. It's called Build Canada Homes.
A new federal entity that will supercharge housing construction across Canada.
The objective of Build Canada Homes is to get construction going on 4,000 new housing units on federally owned land using that factory-built modular home model. The government hopes to get going this fall, but officials concede it could take several years to hit that target of 4,000 units. The housing projects are set for 6 cities: Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Longueuil, Quebec, Ottawa, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Edmonton. And Build Canada Homes is being provided with $13 billion in funding to get these and other projects going.
Build Canada Homes will reduce the upfront costs of building by offering flexible financial incentives to attract private capital.
But Carney's main political opponent, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, is not about to give the government any credit.
And so Mark Carney's solution is to add another bureaucracy that will only slow things down. It took him 6 months to set up a new office, an office that has not built a single new home.
Poilievre told his caucus at their pre-parliament meeting that Conservatives have better ideas, including cutting the GST on most new homes.
Let's incentivize the municipalities to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges, and let's cap immigration so that we can add homes faster than people.
Now, Poilievre is sure to attack the government in the House of Commons starting tomorrow by focusing on all the things the government has yet to do. But Carney is expected to respond by saying there was a major projects list last week, a big housing announcement today, and that he's checking through his election promises one by one. Neithu.
Okay, David Akin in Ottawa. Thanks, David. The Transportation Safety Board is investigating a plane crash in northern Manitoba that killed 4 people and injured the pilot. Just before 7 o'clock last night, Manitoba RCMP received reports a small plane had gone down about 40 kilometers south of St. Teresa Point First Nation. The 20-year-old pilot was found with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. His 4 passengers, 2 men and 2 women, all around 50 years old, had died. A memorial service was held today for a toddler who was killed in Ontario last week when a car plowed into a daycare. The 1.5-year-old is being remembered for his laughter and curiosity, and his family is demanding accountability for the fatal collision. Lexi Benedict reports.
Flowers, balloons, and stuffed animals surround a memorial honoring a life cut too short. Hundreds gathering to say goodbye to 1.5-year-old Liam Riazzati, who was killed when a car crashed into First Roots Education Academy Daycare in Richmond Hill. 7 children were hit by the vehicle, as well as 3 staff members. A man in his 70s has been charged. Loved ones say Liam was the heart of their family.
He was beautiful, he was smart, he was everything to our family.
Liam's mother reading a letter to her son. It's been 3 days now, and we've been like walking dead in our own home. Life doesn't go on without you, Liam. Through the family's devastation and heartbreak is a call for change. They want tougher safety rules at childcare centers in Ontario.
Stop talking nicely. Stop just saying nice words and acting that you care. Just show us something. Stop it. Make some rules, regulation.
The family also wants a thorough investigation into Liam's death. They believe it could have been prevented.
There is no reason to have a daycare full wall glass. That it doesn't even make sense. And there is nothing in the front to stop the car. How is supposed to blame the driver when there was no safety at the beginning?
On Thursday, the Ford government announced plans to implement stricter safety measures, including banning parking directly in front of childcare centers following Liam's death. Minister of Children Michael Parsa paying his respects today.
Working with municipalities and DSAPs across the province to make sure barriers are placed and that making sure that all children who go into these facilities are kept safe and return home at the end of the day.
Richmond Hill's mayor says the pain is being felt throughout the community.
This is certainly one of the saddest days here in our city, for sure.
And for Liam's loved ones, they say only meaningful change will bring them peace. Lexi Benedict, Global News, Toronto.
We're learning more about the man arrested in connection with the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox confirmed the roommate and romantic partner of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson is cooperating with police.
What we have learned specifically is that this person did not have any knowledge, was shocked when they found out about it. When he found out about it, the suspect has not been cooperating so far, and so we're getting all of this information from family members, again, people around the suspect, and then the forensic information that we have.
Cox says more information will come out on Tuesday when formal charges are filed. A memorial service for Kirk will be held on September 21st. Turning Point USA, the organization Kirk co-founded, made the announcement inviting the public to celebrate his life and legacy. It will be held at State Farm Stadium in Arizona, which can seat more than 60,000 people. In Romania, the country says it scrambled fighter jets Saturday after its military detected a Russian drone in Romanian airspace. The aircraft was found near Ukraine's southern border before disappearing from radar. Moscow has not commented on the incident. But it marks the second time Russian drones have breached a NATO country's airspace within days, after Poland shot down 3 of them on Wednesday. NATO allies have since dispatched additional forces to the region, including fighter jets, in a bid to reinforce their eastern flank. In Gaza, there were more airstrikes on multiple residential buildings as Israeli forces ramp up their attacks on Gaza City. Israel's military claims the buildings were being used by Hamas and had warned civilian occupants to flee prior to the bombings. Locals, though, say these buildings were used as shelters for displaced families. The attacks come as U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio visits Israel to discuss where it's going with its military operations after its strikes on Qatar last week. Reggie Cecchini reports.
This is a show of support for an increasingly isolated ally, as Donald Trump's top diplomat stood shoulder to shoulder with Israel's prime minister at the Western Wall in Jerusalem.
His visit here is a testament to the durability, the strength of the Israeli-American alliance.
In reality, this relationship is standing on a fault line after Israel launched a strike in Qatar which failed to eliminate Hamas leadership and drew international outrage for a violation of the nation's sovereignty.
What's happened has happened. Obviously, we were not happy about it. The president was not happy about it.
The U.S. Secretary of State says this trip will also focus on figuring out how Israel intends to move forward in Gaza. And in real time, Israel provided updates, striking more residential areas, with the Palestinian Civil Defense claiming 50 multi-story buildings have been destroyed in recent weeks. We need a solution to this situation, this displaced Palestinian man says. We want the Arab countries to help us and put an end to this. In Doha, an emergency Arab Islamic summit was called, with the Qatari president saying the country will continue to work with the U.S. and Egypt in mediating an end to the war. But the group says Israel's attack threatens American-backed efforts to normalize ties throughout the region and condemned the strikes as a destabilizing escalation, similar to what the UN Security Council agreed to last week.
Unilateral bombing inside Qatar does not advance Israel's or America's goals.
Israel's prime minister argues the only way to return hostages is to eliminate Hamas. 48 remain, of which 20 are believed to be alive. But an increasing number of Israelis are turning on Benjamin Netanyahu, now seeing their leader as the main obstacle to reaching a peace deal. Reggie Cecchini, Global News, Washington.
Around 7 and 10 minutes, we began to hear gunfire.
At the Toronto International Film Festival, the Canadian documentary The Road Between Us has won the People's Choice Award for Best Documentary. The film recounts a retired Israeli general's efforts to rescue his son and his family during Hamas's October 7th attack 2 years ago. This was despite the documentary garnering much controversy. It was initially pulled from TIFF's lineup over security concerns around outside protests, but it was reinstated following backlash from politicians and Jewish groups. Veteran Canadian journalist and news anchor Beverly Thompson has died. Bell Media says Thompson passed away this morning surrounded by family after a long battle with cancer. She was first diagnosed in 2002 and had been active in breast cancer fundraising and awareness. Thompson spent more than 3 decades in the industry, including several years at Global News in Toronto. Last October, she was presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Radio Television Digital News Association of Canada. She was 61 years old. A harsh growing season impacts East Coast farmers. Coming up, how the lack of rain is affecting various crops in Atlantic Canada. It's harvest time across Canada after a challenging growing season. The federal department monitoring Canada's drought conditions reports some relief in the west thanks to rain, but conditions have worsened on the east coast. Heidi Petrachik looks at how farmers in Atlantic Canada are coping and what this drought could mean for future crops.
It's only about half the size it should be at this time.
The giant pumpkins grown on Danny Dill's family farm are legendary, but this year what should have been an 800-pounder has only reached 400, stunted by lack of rain.
We've been in the oven for over 3 months now. It's the worst drought in memory.
Dill has no choice but to harvest even if the gourds are small, which in a business that sells by size means one thing.
Well, of course, less income.
Agriculture Canada's recent drought report confirms August was another dry month in a particularly dry summer. While it found conditions recovered somewhat for Western Canada thanks to rain, Eastern Canada saw less precipitation than usual. The Maritimes in particular received less than 1/4 of what's considered normal rainfall, and in Nova Scotia, parts of the Annapolis Valley had their driest August on record. It means some wells in Nova Scotia have run dry and parts of Halifax are under mandatory water restrictions. A ban on activities in the woods still in place for the most arid parts of the province.
According to the assessment, at the end of August, 72% of Atlantic Canada was either abnormally dry or in moderate to extreme drought, and that encompasses all agricultural lands.
Something this New Brunswick corn farmer already knew: his stalks about a foot shorter than they should be, the cobs small and malformed.
So we're seeing reduced yields in most crops in the region and some significant impacts to a wide variety of crops, not just individual crops.
Even if rain does come this fall, it's too late for produce growers harvesting now. The dry conditions could have repercussions next year for fruit trees and blueberry bushes.
Those trees are impacted by the drought, and they're going to have some possible dieback in some areas.
2 years ago, we were flooded. Next year, maybe we'll have a normal season, please.
A farmer's hope for the future after yet another challenging year. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Windsor, Nova Scotia.
In the UK, British boxing world champion Reggie Hatton has died. His body was found in his Manchester home this morning. Police are not treating his death as suspicious. The 46-year-old had 45 wins in 48 fights over his career, including world titles in 2 weight classes. Hatton was due to make his boxing comeback later this year in Dubai. LNG expansion ahead, the federal government's plan to double production in BC and the reaction from industry experts. The U.S. and China resumed trade talks in Madrid as relations between both countries strain under U.S. President Trump's trade war. Chinese and American diplomats are aiming to further improve economic ties after both sides reached a temporary truce on tariffs earlier this year. It was recently extended until November. Social media giant TikTok is also on the agenda. The platform faces a deadline next week to separate from its Chinese owner or be banned from the U.S. over national security concerns. But Trump has delayed the ban's enforcement multiple times. A plan to expand liquid natural gas production topped a list of infrastructure projects that the federal government says it will fast-track in the coming months. Phase 2 of LNG Canada's operation in BC has almost cleared all of its regulatory hurdles. Heather Yourex-West looks at whether Ottawa's plan will be enough to get this project across the finish line.
It's been just 2 months since LNG Canada sent its first shipment of liquefied natural gas on a voyage across the high sea. The Prime Minister says it's time to see this BC facility grow.
This will directly help transform our country into an energy superpower.
It's why a plan to double production here in Kitimat is at the top of the federal government's first list of infrastructure projects of national interest, projects it's promising to fast-track.
The biggest question, of course, is will the joint venture partners of LNG Canada want to spend another $20 billion here in Canada? And, most people think that that can happen. Does this send the signal that they're looking for in order to make that investment decision?
The project has already cleared most of its environmental and regulatory hurdles. Investors are set to make their final decision late next year. But industry watchers warn a federal fast-track office is no help if global market headwinds aren't blowing their way.
Last week, Russia and China entered into they call it a legal binding agreement, but it's more like a memorandum of understanding to build the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline. If that were to come about, you would be taking about 10-12% of the global LNG demand off the table.
Another oil pipeline to the BC coast could be a risky bet as well, though that's unlikely to come until Canada's oil can be decarbonized. The Oil Sands Proposed Pathways project to build carbon capture and storage infrastructure is among the plans being floated for the Federal Projects Office's next batch, though an economic case for the multi-billion-dollar project may depend on a higher industrial carbon tax.
The industrial carbon pricing system is absolutely crucial to so many investment decisions that are underway in Canada right now.
Canada's road to becoming an energy superpower, not exactly a straight and simple line. Heather Yourex-West, Global News, Calgary.
Run for a Cure. Next, personal stories from runners honoring Terry Fox's legacy and cause. From Edmonton to Saskatoon and in cities across the country, thousands of Canadians laced up their runners today to take part in the 45th annual Terry Fox Run. In Fox's hometown of Port Coquitlam, BC, new statues of the late cancer crusader were unveiled this weekend. Fox embarked on his Marathon of Hope in 1980 to raise money for cancer research. For many runners, taking part is personal. More than 88,000 Canadians died of cancer last year alone. Felicia Perillo spoke with some of the runners in Montreal, each with their own story, but all chasing the same dream.
They came with sneakers, strollers, even skateboards.
Hundreds of people, young, old, families and friends filled Montreal's Old Port for the 45th annual Terry Fox Run, all with different stories but sharing a single purpose, keeping Terry's dream alive.
What he did is incredible, and I'm always thinking, hey, if you're up there, Terry, you know, since you left 45 years ago, 950 million have been raised.
And much of that is thanks to those who have been pioneers in carrying Terry's dream, like cancer survivor and double amputee Catherine Kilcullen. She's been participating in Terry Fox runs for 45 years, proving that resilience knows no limits.
There's always going to be somebody that's going to need you to lift them up and give them that hope to fight in their battle, or that hope to just hold on to their loved ones. So there's no reason to ever stop.
For others, like Mary Silvaggio, the run is a love letter to her late husband, Eddie Nolan, a Montreal Marathon legend who ended his life last year through medical assistance and dying after complications with cancer treatments.
Strange in a way that I'm doing this now, but I want to do it for him. You know, he's done it for so many years. He's been great. He's been inspiring, and especially to the children at the schools. He brought in, you know, the awareness and then the running with them.
Kids like Lily and Justin Maru, who Eddie entrusted with his Terry Fox flag before passing away, they say they're carrying Eddie's lessons forward alongside Terry's dream.
To never give up, always run, keep running, and be kind.
For Eddie, Terry, every fighter, every survivor, and for a future with fewer goodbyes. Felicia Perillo, Global News, Montreal.
Incredible legacy. That is Global National for this Sunday night. I'm Neetu Garsha. Tonight's Your Canada showcases Sherwood Park, Alberta, the Chateau Frontenac in Quebec City, and Niagara-on-the-Lake, Ontario. Keep them coming. Send your pictures of Canadian pride to globalnational@globalnews.ca. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Have a great night.